The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning, everyone. Your time is 5 a.m. I'm Maddie Jansen alongside Tolly Anderson. The Bakersfield City Council last night heard recommendations on how to spend a boost in revenue brought in from the city's 1-cent sales tax. This is the tax increase known as Measure N, passed by voters in 2018. The city's seen an unanticipated $19 million surplus because of staff vacancies funded by the measure and inflation. That leaves about $7.6 million for the city to spend. During a mid-year budget report last night, the council voted to approve several recommendations, including more than $2.5 million to the city's Affordable Housing Trust Fund, $1.5 million to the city's Rainy Day Fund, and more than $1 million for private security services. The committee tasked with advising the council on how to best spend the money was divided at its meeting earlier this week. You can read more about that on our website, kget.com. The City Council last night also voting to rescind the city's COVID-19 emergency proclamation. The proclamation, which was in effect for nearly 3 years, allowed local health agencies to access resources from across the state and federal governments. In the decision to rescind the order, the council said the effects of the pandemic in the city have significantly improved, with a decrease in cases and hospitalizations and an increase in vaccinations.
In your 17 Crime Watch, one person is in custody and 2 others are on the run following an armed robbery in Bakersfield. It happened shortly after 7 p.m. and according to police, 3 suspects stole a vehicle from the parking lot of the business on Oak Street, and during the robbery, the suspects took off and police later found the vehicle in an area of Brundage Lane and P Street. One person was arrested following a foot chase, but 2 others remain on the run. That's according to BPD. The investigation is ongoing. A motorcyclist was taken to the hospital last night following a crash in northwest Bakersfield, according to the CHP Traffic Incident Information page. It happened just before 8 p.m. on Meacham Road, east of Verdugo Lane, and the motorcyclist collided with a garden truck. The rider was taken to the hospital with major injuries.
Making headlines around the state, we are following a developing story out of Los Angeles where 3 LAPD officers were shot, including a canine handler. The officers were camping outside of a residence in the Lincoln Heights neighborhood last night, waiting for a felony suspect to leave the home. The suspect came out and fired at the trio, striking all 3. They were taken to the USC Medical Center. The officers are all listed in stable condition and expected to survive. SWAT officers made entry shortly after. LAPD confirming the suspect in the shooting has died.
In Southern California, mountain communities remain trapped by snow, and the news in some areas where people have been holed up for days is not good. Sandra Mitchell with our sister station KTLA has more.
More bodies found in snow-covered San Bernardino. The sheriff's department now says 12 people have been found dead since last month's brutal storm.
There's going to be a lot more.
Volunteer Megan Vasquez talked to us by telephone.
It's been very cold here. It's been below freezing. So if somebody didn't have electricity or gas to heat their home, they may have froze to death. I mean, it's shocking.
The sheriff's department says only one of the deaths was storm-related, but with another winter storm moving in, conditions are still life-threatening.
There's concerns with the rains and the snows that are in the forecast. It looks like it's going to be primarily rain from what I'm hearing, but that could possibly change. But there's concerns with that. There's a lot of snow on the ground that could cause some ice damming and increased weight loads on roofs.
Firefighters really struggling to clear tons of snow as more roofs collapse and natural gas fires erupt. Frustration and fear as many are still trapped, their homes buried in 10-foot drifts.
When that deck collapsed, it covered their exit out of their home. It fell on their cars. So, one of the things that she said is, my house is cracking.
The sheriff's department reports there are 500 emergency responders in the area, including the National Guard. But those who live here say that is still not enough.
We are mountain strong, and we've always stuck together through thick and thin. But this is far beyond us. We need FEMA, and we need help.
Today marks 7 weeks since 2 Bakersfield police officers were involved in a crash that left 1 man dead and another person seriously hurt. Yesterday, we learned the CHP has issued a warrant for the medical records of those who survived in the crash. It's another development in the CHP's investigation into the possibility of charging one of the officers with gross vehicular manslaughter. The crash happened January 19th in the area of a pursuit involving another officer and a stolen pickup. Lawyers allege the officers in question had their lights and sirens off when they failed to stop at a stop sign and T-boned a vehicle, killing 31-year-old Mario Lares and leaving Ana Hernandez with major injuries. The CHP is asking for the medical records of Hernandez, plus BPD officers Ricardo Robles and Trevion Cobbins. The issuing officer writing in part in the warrant, "I believe there is probable cause to issue a search warrant for the medical record of the above-mentioned parties to establish that the felony of gross vehicular manslaughter was committed by the driver of the 2016 Ford Taurus." For weeks now, the Highway Patrol has declined to answer our questions about the incident, including which officer was driving, whether officers were wearing safety belts, if the police car's emergency lights and siren were activated, or if anyone involved in the accident was given a drug or alcohol test. You can find more on this story on our website, kget.com.
The Justice Department says it will investigate specialized police units across the country following the death of Tyree Nichols in Memphis. The announcement comes as Attorney General Merrick Garland revealed the findings of a similar probe into the police department in Louisville, Kentucky. NBC's Chris Pallone reports.
In a scathing report spanning more than 80 pages, the Justice Department detailed what it calls a troubling pattern of discriminatory law enforcement practices in Louisville, Kentucky, unlawful abuses that the DOJ says disproportionately affects minorities.
In multiple areas, LMPD treats Black people differently from white people who engage in similar behavior.
Some officers have demonstrated disrespect for the people they are sworn to protect. Some have videotaped themselves throwing drinks at pedestrians from their cars, insulted people with disabilities, and called Black people monkeys, animal, and boy.
The 2-year probe began after the 2020 killing of Breonna Taylor, shot by police in a raid targeting someone else.
I don't even know what to think, to know that this thing shouldn't have never happened.
The report alleges Louisville police used excessive force, conducted searches based on invalid warrants, and violated the rights of people engaged in protected speech. The city's new mayor is promising to do better.
We will not make excuses. We will make changes. We will make progress, continued progress, towards improvement and reform.
The report will likely lead to a court-approved agreement on steps the city and the police department will take to improve law enforcement procedures. Chris Pallone, NBC News.
Now to making headlines around the nation. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell is hospitalized this morning after a fall at a D.C. dinner. NBC's Chris Pallone has the details.
A spokesperson for 81-year-old Mitch McConnell said the Republican senator was at a private dinner in a D.C. hotel when he tripped. In a statement, McConnell's office said he is being treated at a local hospital and gave no further information. McConnell is serving his 7th term representing Kentucky. He was first elected to the Senate in 1984 and became GOP leader in 2007. He has held that post longer than any other Republican. He served as majority leader from 2015 until 2021 when Democrats took control of the Senate. Time magazine has twice named McConnell as one of the 100 most influential people in the world. He graduated from the University of Louisville and received a law degree from the University of Kentucky. He is married to Elaine Chao, who served as Secretary of Labor and Transportation under the Bush and Trump administrations. Chris Pallone, NBC News.
Meantime, we learned last night that Governor Gavin Newsom has tested positive for COVID-19. Newsom says he's experiencing mild symptoms and will self-isolate while working from home for the next 5 days. This is the second time the governor has tested positive for COVID-19. He also tested positive last May.
And turning now to your 17 Crime Watch as we continue to follow the case of a former Bakersfield City Council candidate arrested in a murder for hire plot. Raj Gill was arrested Saturday for solicitation of a criminal act, accused of offering people money to have people shot. or to burn the Sahid Temple in southwest Bakersfield. Attorney Stephen Gibbs says 9 members were on Gill's hit list, but that Gill's primary problem was with Temple Board of Directors Amrik Athwal and Sukhwinder Singh Rangi. Athwal says he fears for his life.
If those people don't tell us, we don't know how many people else he's talking. He find maybe somebody crazy guy who really need the money. You know, they're just gonna come. They don't care who we are. You know, they're just gonna kill us, shoot us. You know what I mean? So we're really afraid right now. Everybody's scared. Everybody's saying it's unbelievable what he's thinking. You know what he's doing it.
Athwal and Rangi believe the problem stems from their contributions of over $100,000 to buy the temple out of the foreclosure in 2020. Athwal says over the last 2 years, tensions have become so thick that Gill began to continually disrupt temple services. Athwal says that is what forced the board members to file a restraining order in November of last year. Gill's out on bail. 17 News reached out to him for comment, but did not hear back. The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.